Hey, what's going on, guys? My name is Millennial Smark, and I'm bringing you the slop, the whole slop, and nothing but the slop. So, I guess breaking news for me, I didn't know this was the case. What happened? That that absolutely fucking sucks. Holy shit. So, apparently, am I missing something? Let me see if am I wrong about this? Let me just keep looking up and down real quick. Sheamus has officially been moved to the alumni section of WWE's roster site. The legend has departed the company after 19 years. Wow. Wait, did he get fired? Or was it a New Day situation? Sheamus set to leave WWE after turning down new contract. Oh, man. That bites, dude. Holy shit. So Sheamus is no longer in the WWE? And you know what's crazy also? I just got finished seeing him post. I want to say a couple of days ago. And there was a lot of people around him also constantly pushing for him to finally get the Intercontinental Championship. Because that's the only title he hasn't won during his whole tenure in WWE. And he was just posting about it. He made a meme out of those two retards who were standing on top of the building in New York or whatever, and holding some fucking love, don't judge bullshit sign, hippy dippy bullshit. He made a meme out of that, and it was give Sheamus the Intercontinental Championship. And it's that's the last message I've seen from Sheamus, only to come back and he's gone. He left WWE. How old is Sheamus? He's got to be pushing 50 right about now, right? If not 50. So I'll get more into that in a little bit, but out of curiosity, how old is he? He is 48 years old. He'll be 49 in a couple of months, but he's 48. So you might as well just say he's 50 years old. But it's not as if Sheamus didn't have anything left in the tank, or he was, one of those guys where, yeah, he has neck issues. Yes, I know he has a lower back issues and stuff like that, and he's been getting injured a lot lately. But given Sheamus' style, I still felt more or less he can still go. He can adjust his style. It's not like he's a high flyer diving out of the ring, doing suicide dives through tables and thumbtacks and all this other bullshit. Sheamus is that kind of guy that you can rely on to put in any position because he has name value within the company. Again, 19 years, right? And being on the main roster, from what I can remember, I seen Sheamus for the first time on the main roster when I was 17. So 2009 maybe was when I noticed him for the first time in ECW. And then he transitioned to the main roster. He did some stuff with Jamie Noble, I think, and I think Goldust. And then he was one of the fastest guys to reach the WWE champion in that company's history. It's either him or Sheamus, and maybe one other person I'm not thinking of at the moment, but those two come to mind from the men's perspective as far as the fastest person to get to the WWE championship, even faster than Kurt Angle. It took Kurt Angle about 11 months to make it to the WWE championship. It took Sheamus he made it to the main roster over the summer, June, July, something like that. August, September, October, November, December. It took him 4 to 5 months to win the WWE Championship. It took Brock Lesnar March, April, May, June, July, August, about the same time, 4 to 5 months. It took Brock Lesnar about 5 months. It's just, you hear so many things throughout that company through so many decades, Sheamus being good buddies with Triple H, him going to the gym and working out with him and all this other kind of stuff. You would have kind of thought that he was goated for life, right? He was going to be in that company forever. But then again, I guess I can't say that I'm necessarily shocked. How the New Day left, you would have thought they would have been around, especially Kofi Kingston, right? If I was the Miz, I'd be looking in the mirror right now and questioning, okay, hopefully my time isn't up or anything like that. But Miz is such a company guy. They gave that dude a contract to cut it in half and say, hey, take this contract, we're cutting in half, or you can leave the WWE. He probably would take the contract cut in half. So, but yeah, I get it from the perspective of people who are probably looking at Sheamus and saying to themselves, it's time to move on from the company. You know, from his perspective and from WWE's perspective, it's like, you know, like I said earlier, he was sort of kind of injury prone to a certain degree, but not to the necessary degree where he couldn't, you know, do anything with his style to change it up and still be able to put on good matches. See, the thing with Sheamus is a lot of people didn't like him in the beginning. And I'm not just talking about from the perspective of being a heel or anything like that, but I always felt like Sheamus was always taken for granted because of his style in the ring earlier on. And he started to progress throughout the years, and he kind of got more of a, I almost want to say like a brawling combined with a strong style type of wrestling style, but it wasn't any goofy getting up and pounding your chest after taking 3 German suplexes. It was just taking the hard-hitting style, incorporating it within his new repertoire, and being able to adjust it and combine it with his brawling WWE style. And he was putting on, no pun intended, but bangers, like post-COVID going for it. It was a complete... Sheamus is one of those guys where he's one of the rare ones where, like, his matches got better. He was like fine wine, bro. Like, dude got better with age as far as his in-ring prowess was considered. He was never a bad wrestler, but as far as entertaining fans, he was pretty boring for the most part back in like 2010, 2011 and everything. And he just upped his game. And ever since he was teaming up with Cesaro and they were doing the bar stuff, and then damn sure when he had a singles run and like 2019, 2020 around COVID time, he started to really build up a nice solid repertoire of good matches. And it's like, I still feel like there was so much left in the tank for Sheamus to do, bro. I would have loved to see Sheamus turn heel and have some matches with the likes of some of the newer guys. Like, for sure, and Obafemi is the first person to come to mind. I feel like he would have had some dope matches with Trick Williams as well. You know, like even some of the current guard right now, I would have loved to see another match with him and Gunther. They don't know how to put on a bad match. And I think, first and foremost, is that I wish he would have got that Intercontinental Championship belt. That's the workhorse title, and Sheamus, for all intents and purposes, in between his injuries for the most part, when he was still, you know, active on the main roster, for the most part, Sheamus was one of the best workers, and he was the workhorse. He was the guy putting on the classic great matches at that point in time for this era, I guess, if you want to say classic. I get it. From his perspective, if it all comes back to money, and he probably looks at the situation and thinks to himself, after all the years I gave to this company, the blood, sweat, and tears, and quite frankly, he probably looks at it, I'm gonna assume, maybe I could be wrong about this, I'm not in Sheamus's mind, but considering he left WWE over the contract disputes, I can only assume, I can only presume, he probably feels maybe a little bit betrayed. Like I said, he was friends with the likes of a Triple H, he's friends with the likes of a Randy Orton, all the top stars for the most part, and then just out of nowhere, you know, he probably comes up to them, hey, so about these contract negotiations, what do you think? And then they probably lowball the shit out of him. I mean, we only heard earlier this year that they were cutting everybody's contracts in half, and I guess he happened to be one of the people to get their contracts cut in half. He probably looks at it like, you know, like after everything that I've done, and I'm not asking for much. I'm not asking to be in the main event of WrestleMania. I'm not asking to be WWE champion again. I'm not asking to be put in the main event picture. I understand that I'm not, you know, this early 30s guy that was kicking ass like 15 years ago, but I'm still active. I can still do this damn thing. I can still go out there. I can still put on killer matches at my age. I still have a bunch of wisdom. You know, I'm a veteran. I'm one of the safer workers from the standpoint that, yeah, obviously I lay my shit in. I could be a little bit stiff, but I hit you in the right spots. I hit you in the spots where you're not going to get injured. It's going to sting, but you're not going to get injured. Which is a far cry from all the people that we're seeing nowadays with all the flippy dippy bullshit and breaking their necks from just trying to do a kip up. I'm going to miss Sheamus. And I know the first thing people are going to go to, as always, because that's the stereotypical thing we do nowadays whenever we talk about wrestlers leaving WWE, I guess the first thing that comes to mind is, will he go to AEW? To be quite frank, I mean, does he even have any allies in AEW? Well, he has Cesaro. I know he's really, really good friends with Cesaro. But outside of Cesaro, is there anybody else in that company? Well, he's good friends with Mercedes Moné as well. I think he's good friends with FTR, if I'm not mistaken. I see them have a couple of pictures together. I mean, he has that YouTube channel when he's doing like the workouts and stuff like that. So he's probably really good friends with countless amount of superstars in AEW. But it's like, it comes back to also like his style of wrestling doesn't mesh well with some of the superstars in AEW. And I think it does for the most part. I think if you put him in there with the right superstar, he can have some killer matches. But I guess that's besides the point. I guess that's all the way into the future. I just wish it would have worked out better with Sheamus. I really am disappointed on behalf of him, not just being able to leave WWE like this pretty unceremoniously, but just not being able to get that Intercontinental Championship. Like, I feel like I have OCD on behalf of Sheamus. Like, god damn it, that's the only championship belt you didn't win in the company. And it's like, you had multiple chances to get the championship belt. They could have pulled the trigger on you and gave you like a 1 or 2 month reign. Hell, they could have done it in between the time with you and Gunther feuding, and Gunther could have got the championship belt back. I mean, for God's sakes, they took the belt off of Gunther to give it to fucking Sami Zayn of all fucking people. You mean to tell me that he couldn't have got the Intercontinental Championship for a little bit? You gave it to fucking Sami Zayn, which was a waste of a fucking run? At least with Sheamus, we could have got some bangers. But, and I'll end it on this note right here. I do see this, though, and it's like, man, it's the end of the road for some of the Ruthless Aggression era stars, isn't it? Now, I guess technically Sheamus would technically be considered a PG superstar. He probably signed his contract with WWE during the Ruthless Aggression era, so, you know, I don't know if you want to pull any hairs there and suggest whether or not he's a late Ruthless Aggression era wrestler, or if you want to call him a PG early guy. I don't know how you would like to look at that. But I talked about this a couple of years ago. Again, a friend of mine's brought this up, and I'll include Sheamus within that conversation as well, just for argument's sake. But that lost mid-card, man, in the mid-2000s and late 2000s, that lost mid-card, where it's like either A, they end up getting just this close, they end up touching the brass ring, but never being able to pull it down, right? The guys like the Kofi Kingstons, the guys like the Mizes of the world, the John Morrisons, the Sheamuses of the world, right? The Carlitos of the world, the Mr. Kennedys, the MVPs, the Shelton Benjamins. You could throw in Christian if you want to as well, even though he's more of a veteran and he existed in another era. He was prominent in the mid-card in this era, right? You could throw in the Dolph Zigglers of the world. You could throw in the Zack Ryders if you want to as well, the Jack Swaggers. So many people who came up in that mid-card scene who touched the brass ring but was never able to yank it down. I mean, maybe with the exception if you want to say CM Punk. You could throw R-Truth in there as well. He became a joke when it was all said and done. But man, oh man, so many superstars who came up in the mid to late 2000s who are now starting to leave little by little. Little by little. Again, the only person who exists from that era who's still active and wrestling consistently on the main roster is just The Miz. He's the only one left. As far as that mid-card, that forgotten mid-card, he's the only one left. Either A, you retired, B, you're wrestling for AEW, C, you slowed down, or D, you're an absolute fucking joke. But I always figured Sheamus was different. You know, I remember even, I talked about him earlier, but I remember even the Schleg Daddy back in the days when he was doing this review, he used to call Randy Orton and Batista and Triple H and John Cena and Sheamus the Breakfast Club because they were always in the mix. They always had their hands on the world championship and no one was able to ever get their hands on it. That was Sheamus. That's what Sheamus was. It just sucks that, like, the best quality matches Sheamus ended up putting on, it came at the very, very end of his career in WWE. It came at the time when essentially he became, I hate to say injury prone, but I don't know how else to describe it. I wish him best in his future endeavors. I hope everything works out, because it's not even like a situation where it's like, oh man, you know, in a couple of years, Sheamus can come back and he can still put on some killer matches. Nah, man. Nah, Sheamus is the same age. He's the same age as CM Punk. But he's not the same star caliber as a CM Punk. You can bring back a CM Punk and you feel like the company would try to get something out of him because of his star power and his profile. Sheamus should have that. He was getting that. And now he doesn't have it. Now he doesn't have it, man. But if he pops up in AEW, I am kind of curious to see how everything will turn out. But that's the news, folks. Sheamus is no longer in WWE, apparently, allegedly. I guess let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below. Do you have some thoughts on this? What would you have done with Sheamus? And I guess if you want to talk about some of your favorite Sheamus moments in the comment section below, maybe some of your favorite matches, go ahead, man. That's something else too. He was a hell of a character, not just a wrestler, a hell of a character. One of my favorite segments in that company in part of the last 20 years was that segment he had with Santino Marella, the tea time with Santino and Vladimir Kozlov. Shit was fucking hilarious, bro. Fucking hilarious, man. But good luck to Sheamus, and sad day for Dublin Island, right? I think he's from Dublin, whatever. As always, my name is Millennial Smark, and I'll be catching you fine folks later. A deuces and a P. Ice.